Hey everybody, it's Sunday. You guys get to be the first to see the new Jug Life Master, the first casting and the molds, and I will even show you inside of the molds, which is extra fun. I love it. It's like, super interesting, but you'll enjoy, hopefully. I also am going to cover some of the Briar shakeup because they threw in a little bit of a curveball with that last Vintage Club release. We've got the Midwest Fest announcements for Briar, and then I have as our topic my best tips for improving your artwork fast, because we all know patience is hard, so improving it as fast as we can is always good. And I've spent 20 years doing this, so there's a couple of tips I've learned along the way. I also have as my hyperfixation a pen adventure from Pelican Hubs, so I get to tell you guys all about that as well. So hopefully you enjoy today's stream. It is October the 26th. I am Raven Maddock of Khrysalis Studios, and if you're here live in the chat, it's always a good time. Make sure you hit it up either on YouTube or Facebook. Like the stream if you like the stream. It helps other people find this cool place to hang out and my work and all that. So every artist greatly appreciates that. Looks like we have a little spooky thing we can do. That's interesting. Every time I come, they change something in the background, and it's like a little dancing pumpkin. But I will say hi to our chat. Hello, Lizzie. Welcome. We have Kimberly. Hello, coming from YouTube. Amy. Good morning, Amy. How's it going? Katie's here. Hi, Katie. Hi, Momo. All right. So yeah, it's been a very exciting week. I've spent a little bit of time getting the Jug Life mold done. So I'll get to show you that and the first test cast. So the first test cast is actually just a cleaning cast that you put in the mold to make sure that there's no gunk in it. It takes some of the mold release out of there because we don't use mold release between the castings. We use mold release on the original and between the silicone, so the silicone parts don't stick to each other. And so it cleans some of that out. It cleans any clay out because clay was used to clay up the horse. And I will get to show you all of the good stuff. So as I grab the ponies behind me, this is the master in the red epoxy, red primer. There was a little bit of a casualty in the base. The base did crack, but he actually survived the process. And he's a 3D print, so some good resiliency. I like it. This is the first test cast out of the first mold. So the base took a little bit of the color with it. I'm not sure how many castings it's going to take to get that out of there. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to make another mold of one of these and clean it up really good so that your bases aren't kind of gunky. But this is stuff that can happen sometimes. Here is the boy in the resin. So seams are turning out pretty good. This is also just tossed in there. There's no wires in his legs at all, no reinforcement anywhere. He does have one little bubble on the edge of his eye. This is with no soft setting, no fancy anything. Normally we would put a little bit of resin into the mold to set the wires in there and soft set any problem areas like the tips of the mane. This doesn't even have the normal vents we would put in. I just wanted to clean the mold out. And this is probably the nicest test cast we've ever gotten. And it was zero effort, which is kind of hilarious because sometimes I'll know problem spots and I'll just put stuff in there. But really the idea behind a test cast is to clean the mold and find any problem areas so that we can adjust it for the castings that we actually take the time to reinforce and do all the cool stuff with. So very exciting. And he is hollow, so he was put through the rotocaster. You can see kind of where some of those seam lines are when they're rough. They're pretty reasonably clean overall. You can kind of see the one here. And that all gets cleaned up before I send them to you guys. This is just straight out of the mold. And ideally what we're looking for in seams, if it'll focus, is ones you can just scratch off with your fingertip. Because that's where the two parts of the mold come together, and sometimes they can either be misaligned or a little bit of resin gets in there. But overall, he is super, super nice. It gives me a lot of hope that he came out this well without any effort. So knock on all the woods that he keeps doing that. So we'll put in wires to reinforce some parts of the tail, the legs, and that's especially for something like this where he's sitting in a base. You definitely want that reinforcement in the front legs so that he has the ability to stand without any sort of warpage. The back legs, not so much, just because you can put wires in there to reinforce them so that if it drops, that the leg doesn't go flying. But your main focus with wires is reinforcing your soft bits, but also you don't want warpage. So if he's sitting in his base like this all the time, you don't want him to do this and his legs to spaghetti on you. So it's very important that those are really strong. We actually use welding wire, and it is pretty near impossible to even cut. So it doesn't go anywhere, which is kind of cool. But yeah, we're pretty happy with that. I'll show you guys what the actual mold looks like in a minute here. These guys, the editions are open from now until the 15th of December. So you have another month and a half or so, I guess. Yeah, a month and a half to order him. So if you wanted this guy, I'm going to be pausing the orders on the little guy for now and the draft, Gabriel, because the masters are still stuck with my shipper and I don't know when they're going to be able to release those. They were having issues with FDA clearance and it's a whole thing. So I'm just going to pause those two editions for now, but you still can order this guy because he is actively casting in-house and fine, and I'll know the timeline. So just it makes it easier on my end for the admin side to not have to keep updating a whole bunch of people and letting people know with new orders. So that will be happening right away here, but you can still get this guy on time payments or paid in full. So he's exciting. I'm very excited. So I'll show you guys the mold because that's the super fun part for me. So not only is there one mold, but we made a second one, or I made a second one. So it is in kind of 90s themed colors. You can see 3 parts there. The nice part about using the translucent dragon skin is not only is it translucent and really cool, but you can also dye it pretty colors. So that's always fun. So the mold pieces come apart and they just peel off of each other. So then you end up with the molds like this. So it's 3 pieces because you need a piece in the middle to do his belly, which is here. So you need the pieces to do his belly because his legs are together. If his legs were splayed, you could probably get away with a 2-part mold. Some of them do. And this one I actually had to patch because there was issues with the pour. So I had to actually go in and put resin or the silicone in to fix these little air bubbles that got stuck because of the angle. And then these are the keys that lock it into place. The outside line here also locks things into place, but you can kind of see all the little details. So when he's in the mold, I'll use the resin guy. When he's in the mold, you pull him out of here, and then this just comes out like that. And depending on how complex they are, sometimes they need more than just the 3 parts of the mold, but you can see how he just nestles right in there. That's the pour sprue. Oops. I can't do this backwards. That's the pour sprue right there. So we put the resin into this hole, goes in there. You can see where we've outlined where the vents should go, but they're actually not cut out yet. So you can see them. They're actually like a little ripple rib here. So there's no venting happening until I cut those out, which is kind of fun. So yeah, it's kind of neat to see he's got like a little resin or silicone hat. One ear's embedded inside there. You can see that there, that little hole. That's his other ear. And so everywhere where you see an edge here is where you're going to get a seam line on the actual casting. And then when I go in to clean them all up for you, which I try to do to the best of my ability, because I know it's hard to get a hold of good preppers and things these days. They go out pretty well, seam free. There's a little bit of prep work that you need to do, as with any resin. I can't do it all, or I'd have to charge you guys a little bit more. Because to do prep work, it's usually $100 or more. I don't even know what the current going rate for prep work is. I know when I was doing it and sending things out for prepping, it was $100 and some odd each, at least, especially for bigger castings. For little guys, it's a lot of work because you got to take into account that there might be little details that you have to resculpt in there, or resin patches, and yeah, it's kind of fun. But he is quite light, which is nice. It'll be really good for your wrists. My thumb's been giving me so much trouble these last few days. I don't even know what is going on, but I'm going to have to put my brace back on, and then brace. I actually had a whole vet wrap around my thumb to stabilize this part. And I probably do need to go in to see the occupational therapist person that can recommend the little rings and things and get me fitted properly so that my fingers don't go the wrong direction. But yeah, casting of itself is a whole art, because you're not only doing a clay base underneath that your sculpture is now embedded in, and you have to make all those little keys and make sure every single place where it meets the sculpture is nice and clean, or you'll see it along your seam lines. It'll just be garbled and you won't get that nice clean fit. If you don't do the physics right, you're going to get parts that get trapped in there. If you don't do the physics right, you're not going to have, when you put pressure on the two sides of the mold and compress it, because we stick this in the rotocaster like this. It's got another sheet on top of it of plexiglass that gets bolted down, and then this whole thing spins and rotates as it's casting. And if you don't get the physics right, when you push down here and you have, say, two pieces that are meeting at weird angles, that push will actually squish it and deform your piece. You have to get the tension right. You have to get the amount of resin right. You have to make sure your wires are put in right. It's a whole thing. So this is why we're very grateful for all the casters out there like the Olps of Jolt Studios and all the other ones that are doing such good work, because it's so hard to get it right. And then it's so hard to take the time, because each of these takes a long time to make, especially when you're soft setting the resins. It's sometimes a couple hours to get everything ready. The molds take quite a few hours to days, because there's pouring processes in between there. But the first initial claying up takes sometimes days just to do that. So that would have been, where's the piece? This purple piece would have been all clay. And I have pictures of that I'll show later in another post that I'll make. That would have been all clay. So I have to make all of these angles and make sure everything fits in and along all the edges. Like you can see here when I put them back in the mold, that it is nice and crisp and clean around that face, or you're going to get problems. So it is a whole other art, and every different mold maker does it a little bit differently. They use different silicones. Most people are using the Moldstar 15 or similar product. Each silicone has its own properties. This is dragon skin, so it's a little bit more flexible. It's also a little bit more expensive and translucent, which has its own benefits, because sometimes if you're doing certain types of molds, you want to be able to see through the mold. So yeah, it's its own thing. And then the rotocaster has different settings on it for different turning of the inside and outside portions so that you get everything distributed properly. Because he's hollow, he'll get a little breather hole probably behind his boy bits. So that all has to be done, and the castings are checked over and cleaned and all that good stuff. So it's quite the process, but ta-da! We get ponies. This is how they're made. We have Krista. Hi, Krista. I'm missing parts of chat. Sorry, guys. I will catch up with you. I went on like a rant. Hi, Pam. Welcome. Rubbing hands together in anticipation, says Jody. Hi, Jody. So we should actually, hi, Patricia. We should have I'm going to do a big casting fest starting this week, and I should have a whole bunch of these orders ready to go by next week. I'm waiting on some of the swag because I was a little delayed with all of the issues we've had with shipping, trying to track down the box with the masters for Gabriel and Little Jug Life. I did send out an email to customers saying that the little guy, like explaining the situation, what's going on. The box doesn't appear to be lost. It is just in the back of their warehouse with tens of thousands of other boxes that they're trying to get cleared across the border because of some issues with FDA cleared products. So food and makeup and some pharmaceutical type stuff, all that stuff is causing issues with ponies crossing the border. And 90% of the Medallion Club boxes have made it. There's about a dozen of you guys that are still stuck with the masters. And I've been trying to contact my shipper. I've been using them for 7 years. They've been wonderful up to this point, and now it's just been no communication, and they've been struggling to try and change things. You guys saw my post about me doing Python programming in the background because they had wanted all of the shipping labels to be saved in individual PDFs, and those PDFs individually named with a tracking number. And when you're dealing with hundreds of boxes, that is a significant job, and there isn't really a computer program or app out there that I could find that would allow me to do that. So I had to make it. I had to make my own computer program that would take the dump from my, with all the labels in PDF format from my shipping program. I'm using Pirate Ship currently, and take that, split them all out, rename them all, and do that efficiently, because I can't spend days relabeling hundreds of labels or nothing's going to move. So I've been trying to work around that. And then they just recently said that now they're going to change. They're not using that system. They don't need the labels broken out now. And it's just been heartbreaking and frustrating. And I think they have so many people that they're trying to handle. They're still shipping boxes that they're getting every day too, but they're not shipping ones from forever ago. Like the masters were shipped on, I think it was the 8th, along with all the Medallion Club stuff, and they're shipping boxes from yesterday, but not the ones from the 8th. So it's been very, very challenging, and I know it's hard to communicate to you guys that there's issues happening because I don't want you to worry. So it's a kind of a vulnerable point for me, but I'm trying to communicate better through the stuff that's going on. I'm a little bit behind in replying to some emails just because I've been trying to get boxes moving and find different shipping methods and program a program, which apparently I didn't even need, along with a whole bunch of other stuff in the back end to format things the way that they needed and put it into their system for the manifests, and then working with setting up new accounts with new shippers, so that I have alternatives to DYK if this doesn't work out, which I'm starting to get to the point where I might have to swap, because it's been 7 years, but stuff like this is very challenging, especially when there's no communication. So yeah, it's fun. But I have 2 other companies that I've set up to use. I'm testing them now. The one, Chit Chat, seems to be really good. The boxes have gone quite quick, and there's different price differences between some of these shipping options. Most of them are more expensive than DYK just because of how they were clearing the boxes, and they were a bit of a smaller company initially. Now they've gotten quite large, which is part of the problem with them keeping up with updating everybody and finding boxes and keeping afloat, because I think that that's kind of what's it at the end of the day is they need to ship stuff and have income. So they're trying to keep people happy, but it's hard. And I have compassion, but I also have a business and I need to take care of your guys' needs as well. So that's all been going on, which meant that I didn't get all the sticker stuff ordered and the swag stuff for these guys. So I need to do that so that I can get these guys shipped. But I'm going to start getting orders ready. I'll contact the people that are on the ready to ship list, and then the people that are to be invoiced with the paid in full invoice when ready to ship orders, because I'll have a good idea after the next couple of days what speed I will be able to operate at, which should be reasonably well because he seems to be casting really well. So that's always fun. And then we can get these in hands of painters and then see them all painted because it's going to be awesome. Katie says he's a survivor. He's making up for Biter. I hope so. He also doesn't go in 15 different directions with an open mouth and tiny details. And yeah, she was insane. He's a little more straightforward, thankfully. Spaghetti horse. Yeah, exactly. Jody says, oh God, I hope beyond hope that your shipper finds those masters and gets them back to you in fine shape. Because I can make another of the little Jug Lives. I have the file. I have a backup just in case. I saved everything for the way he was sized. I'd have to make a new base. But Gabriel, I don't have any mold castings or scan of. He is the original, and I hope beyond hope that he is found safe and travels safe to the Alps, or I've told DYK that another alternative is just return it to me and I will find another way to expedite shipping to the Alps and get him there. Medallion club boxes are replaceable. Original masters with no anything. And I even thought before I sent him, I'm like, oh, I don't like sending 100% originals and with having no mold, no nothing, but I wanted to get him there to them as fast as possible so that the molding and casting wouldn't be delayed, and here we are. So I do have a scanner. It's just a matter of setting it up and getting it ready to go so that I can scan, and even then there's still work that needs to be done to make them the same as they were. It's just, it's a whole poop show. But anyways, Laura Smith just showed Anna the molds. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see how they all align and the physics of it. It's just its own thing. And that's kind of why it's taking a long time to get these videos for the club people sorted out for the mold stuff. Because every time I'm like, oh, okay, we're there. And then I'm like, oh, this other thing. So I'm going to probably be breaking it out into sections in some of the theory and how you deal with the physics of stuff and some stuff that's a little bit more basic. So it's trying to organize it out so that it's not overwhelming, because I tend to do the autistic like brain dump of here's 5 million different tiny details that you don't need to know. I think you need to know them and my brain likes to know them, but they're probably not necessary to get going as long as you know the basics. So distilling things into the basics is challenging when there's so many different factors. This is why the hobby doesn't have enough casters, says Jody. Pretty much. I hope people understand the difficulty in the art form that is casting. It is not straightforward, and it is not without its own pitfalls and things that can go wrong. Resin can be temperamental for all sorts of reasons, and molds can be too. The molds will actually start to rip and tear and pull chunks out, and then you end up with texture that you have to get rid of, and it's just a thing. So we'll do maybe another stream on kind of some of that stuff because it's kind of cool, but that's kind of the rundown. Katie says it stinks that Mountain View closed their casting realm. They were pretty good. I don't know what necessarily happened there because they had just expanded right before they closed things down, and it's not a super profitable business, especially when things can kind of go wrong at any time. It's really hard to find help that is good at the molding casting thing and understanding what the hobby requires. Not everybody gets that. You've seen some of our struggles with finding people that can help with the molding and casting and cleaning stuff. We had one gentleman that was really, really good, Jordan. He kind of had a natural knack for it, but it's hard to beat rates for payment of different trades and things, and he ended up going into a trade that paid way more than we were able to compensate him for the casting, and so tale as old as time, right? And now my husband's doing tons and tons of work, so it's been mostly me doing the mold stuff and the casting stuff, so then it's managing my wrists and all the rest of it. It's a complicated thing, but they all are, but they are worth it because they're awesome and it makes you guys happy. So Jody, wouldn't it be fantastic mail day if all those boxes land at our doors at the same time? Yeah, exactly. Just like, poof, there's all the ponies. And maybe by the time that I get the swag in, I will have the majority of the Jug Lifes ready to go in people's hands. And then I'm so excited to see them painted up and to make people happy that we're able to get a Juggernaut when he was originally released, because there was only 110 of them. He is an open edition, which allows anybody to get them that wants them within the time window. And then you can do 6 months worth of time payments. So that means that it's even longer of a time period if you need that extra. Lizzie, it really sucks that that's happening, but silver lining, lesson now learned, always scan new models. And yeah, or don't send 100% originals. I know that there's some artists that will make a mold themselves and send a cleaned casting, and that's better for backup. I've never really had issues in the 7 years I've dealt with them. I think they've lost 2 boxes in that whole time frame, and it was unprecedented. And yeah, so anyway, it is what it is. And the scanning thing, like I said, isn't 100% either, because you're better to make a mold and the mold takes time, whereas the scan, you get a kind of a blurry version of whatever you've scanned. The details aren't 100% there, so you'd still have to go in, and like I do with the redetailing of the scans, when I shrink them, you have to redetail everything, or you lose all that detail and it just looks like you've added too much primer on top. And you know how you start to lose all those fine little details? So, yeah, anyway. So yeah, that is where we're at with the resin stuff. There was a couple of Bombas orders that were paid off that are going out this week as well. Those orders are still shipping, along with our... Oh, she's hiding. Betty Boops, who's still also available on the website until her edition runs out, which is 100 pieces. So, and then I'll eventually have the painted ones ready to go. I can't show that yet. Always with the secrets, right? Yeah, so that's pretty well what I can tell you about what's going on in the studio right now. I did tease that there is a thing coming soon here that I can show you, and I can't tell you what it is, but I can continue to hype you up until it shows up within the next month or so. We should see it. Ta-da! That's all I can say. So yeah, let's talk about the Briar Rhea stuff. So Briar released Rhea, who is a Vintage Club release. It's a Vintage Club special run, and that, is this guy. And the shakeup here, they caused a whole bunch of drama. So we have the pony. It is a really cool Resist Apple Gray. And then they decided to do a micro run of Black Point with 75 pieces. So everybody went from, oh, that's really cool, to, oh my God, freaking out that there was a limited Black Point run. And there really isn't a ton of difference here between the Black Point and the Gray. It's a little blurry for the people that are getting them in hand. So that's caused a whole new level of crazy. Yeah, people are like, did I get black? I don't know if I got black. These are kind of like lighter points, but the hair looks black. So it's its own thing, because you can see them there. They're very, 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 very close. But still really cool. I really like Animar with these Resist apples on them. We haven't seen what the Christmas horse is going to be yet, but they did open up the clubs so that you can join to get the Christmas special that they're doing. I'm still a little worried that it's Fireheart, but we'll see. We'll see. My being is concerned. And my wallet. That's another thing. And then we should get all the releases for the clubs within the next little bit here. They'll start peeking who is in Premier Club and what we're going to see. Same with Vintage, same with Stablemate. We've seen a couple of releases already. I've shown them in the last 2 streams. If you missed that, you can go check it out. And yeah, so I think he's pretty. I don't know what you guys think, but the vintage style Resist apples are just pretty. So yeah, that was that. And then they did a Briar Midwest Fest release. They are changing a little bit about it. It is in January 23rd and 25th, which is right in like snowy season. I don't know how bad it gets in Topeka, Kansas, but here it's not always drivable in January or flyable for that matter, because planes need to be de-iced and stuff. But anyways, so it'll be January 23rd and 25th in Topeka, Kansas. It is in partnership with Equifest in Kansas. I guess it's being held in the Sunflower Ballroom of the Manor Conference Center in Hotel Topeka. And then they're breaking it out into different days. So Fridays, stablemate painting for kids, an open model horse show for experienced showers 13 and up. You have to pre-register for that if you want to be doing it. Saturday, for poor Fabian's face. It's bad when Briar takes candid photos and you're like, that was not what I was hoping for. Saturday, free stablemate painting, but it's kind of cute. Free stablemate painting for kids, meet and greets with Briar artists, hobby Q&A, hobby workshops that you have to pre-register for, a event swap meet, an artisans gallery, which also you need to be pre-registered for. Sundays, free stablemate painting again, youth and novice model horse show for all ages. So if you're new collector and you don't want to compete with all the big heavy hitters, which is probably the better place to start, or don't be scared away. Do the novice and the youth show. So meet and greets with hobby artists and time painting contests with fun prizes. Timed painting contest. Well, that's really interesting. So yeah, there's some ponies on the table, patuatuas and all that. Very cute. Since registrations purchased from Midwest, Briarfest Midwest Fest on Briar horses are non-refundable after January 5th. So if something happens, you can't refund it after that point. You need to purchase a ticket to Equifest to attend Briar Midwest. That's interesting. I don't know that that was necessarily the case before, and I didn't see that before now. So yeah, you need to buy an Equifest ticket. I don't know how much those are, and I would assume you would need a whole weekend pass if you are attending that, which is interesting. Swap meet, artisans gallery, hotel does not permit room sales. You're like, we've seen what you guys did with the Clarion. It's not allowed. So yeah, that's kind of cool for people that are more westerly in your location. I'm in the Canadian West. I will not be attending, but I understand the travel distance between one side and the other. So it's nice to have something that's out kind of westerly that you guys can enjoy. Hopefully you are going and or want to go and check it out. It's kind of cool. Good prizes. I think they showed that the models for it are here. Bam, bam. Glossy bow and arrow is the special model for the event. And then people are asking about stuff. So yeah. I don't see any of the glossy bow and arrow on the website, but it might not have popped up when I was looking at it. So that's kind of cool. If you like that mold, that's how you get a hold of him. Or go get somebody to do pickups, I guess. Or if they don't want theirs, do that. So that's kind of fun. What else do I got? Yeah, that I think is all the announcements that I've seen from Briar. If you've seen something else that I've missed, let me know in the chat. But so far, that is what I've seen. Okay, life's been throwing me curveballs. Trust me, I get it. And then, as with anything, if time payments, I know life and the world and the economy are crazy right now. If there's a requirement for a little bit of an extra period, just let me know. I'm pretty flexible when it comes to stuff like that. I know other artists are not, and I understand why they do that as well, because it gets to be administratively complex, and there's only so many things you can hold in your little brain at a time, and right now there's only so many programming languages that I can handle. So yeah. So I try and be as flexible as I can while still maintaining structure, because structure is important to my brain. Hello, little lib one. Welcome. Amy says, I conga that mold, so slanting my eyebrows at Briary, especially with the micro run, 75 pieces. It's always bad when you get releases and you're like, that's great. Or if it's the surprise horse and you end up with, now you need 8 and 4 of them are rare glossies. Good luck. It's that meme where you're like, why would you do that? Making that sound too, which was probably hilarious to hear. But anyways, Kansas in winter is usually mucky wet. Okay, well that's better than snow, sleet, you can't drive in it, nobody knows what's happening. So there's that. Because I know that there's been a lot of issues with Briar's Midwest West event in the past with people getting there and flights not working because of snowstorms and other stuff. So they probably moved things around a little bit to accommodate for that, because that is very hard from an event planner's perspective, and you end up with unhappy attendees and unhappy people, and just you can't get the guests that you need there and all sorts of crazy. So blah. Fireheart and Glossy Black. Don't, Katie, don't do it. They make them the coal. I will cry. I will cry for years and years and years and years and years. And my conga is not complete now because I don't have quadraga, but it will never be complete. So sad. Cindy says, missed the beginning of this, so I'll watch that later. Yeah, we just covered some of the Briar stuff, and the Jug Life casting test cast came out really nice, and I showed the mold. So there's that. Or parking lot. Do I meet in the back alley to hand off then? Probably. It'll probably be really shady Briar deals because you can't do hotel sales. And it'll just be like, okay, now we're going to meet me in my trunk or in the washroom. There you are. There's a pony from the washroom. Or a secret knock that happens behind closed doors. Well, they can't police if you've made arrangements to meet somebody in their room and you have like a knock to get into a room. They can't technically police that. I am not recommending anything because I will get in trouble. So I am not making any sort of recommendations for what rules to break or not while you're at Briar Midwest Fest or any other location. So yeah, but pony sales will probably happen because pony sales will need to happen. All right, on to our topic of the day. So I've spent 20 odd years doing this and I've learned a few things along the way. So today's topic is improving your art fast, because one of the biggest things that I've heard from people that are starting out or have been doing this for a little while but are struggling is that it takes so freaking long to get to where you got to be. While there's some truth in that, it did take me 20 years to get to this point. There are also some tips and tricks that you can use along the way that will help you. One of the biggest things that held me back is a focus on perfection and not production, really. There's a fine balance between doing something and doing it super, super well, and then sitting there and redoing it and tweaking it and touching it up and restarting it and like just ruminating on the same piece forever when you could have, say, done 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces in that time period. Especially when you're starting out, you're never going to be at the bar you want to be, but you want to see improvements in what you're doing. So if you are sculpting something, maybe you want to make sure that you get the hoof right or the fetlock or the eye. So rather than focusing on the perfection of the whole piece, you can focus in on, okay, I'm going to do better than my last horse here. And then there has to be a point where you abandon it, because all good art is really just abandoned. It's not finished. That's why there's that quote. You have to, at some point, abandon it somewhere, because you would sit there and work on it forever, most of us at least. So look for your improvement and then move on to the next piece, because you're actually going to improve exponentially faster by doing that and allowing yourself to learn from each piece without overworking it and without over fixating on it. Because that perfection thing in life may sound great, but it's actually one of the biggest weaknesses you can have, because it will be a a massive point of holding your own being up, beating yourself up, which we've talked about in previous streams, and just it gets in the way more than it helps. So aim for seeing a difference and learning in your pieces while also putting pieces out. Don't let yourself, if you get stuck on a piece and you just want to rework it and rework it and rework it, start a new piece. Maybe just put that one in the closet, walk away, start a new one. Don't let that hang you up for too long, because it has an effect on your ability to produce going forward. It'll reduce your motivation. It will allow you, that voice in your head, to come out and beat yourself up, which isn't helpful. And then you end up producing slower, questioning yourself more, and not learning from the process. Then you just end up mad and wanting to give up. So, and you're never, ever, ever, like Jody's saying, you'll never be at the place you want to be. It's always a journey. It's never a destination. I don't think there's any artist that goes, I have arrived. My work is as good as it's ever going to get, because then what's the point, right? It's always evolving and changing and shifting, and you're learning things along the way. So definitely the practicing with purpose, but not perfection. So you want to do that, where you focus on areas to improve and not let yourself get caught in that perfectionistic trap, because it is a big sinkhole of blah, right? Next time you think about perfectionism, sinkhole of blah. Don't do it. It's like, think of our attacks. No. Oh, now my head's sad. Sorry, I did that to all of us. 80-20 rule is a really good one to remember as well. And the 80-20 rule is good in all areas of life. You want to focus on the 80% that's of whatever you're doing. So in art, the 80% factor is usually something like form, anatomy, gesture, expression, values if you're painting and color. And that's going to get you the maximum amount of return. So you don't want to go the whole 100%. So again, it's touching on the perfection thing. You're not looking for 100, you're looking for 80. And that will get you, I think the way the 80-20 rule tends to, I like thinking about it as 80% out of the 100, because if I say it's 20%, my brain goes on strike. It's like, no. But I believe the original connotation of it is it's the 20% of work that will get you the 80% of return. So there's that like cream that you skim from the top, where you're like, okay, if I focus on this, everything else will come. But that top layer is like the gold, right? Liquid gold, cream on the milk. Yeah. So focus on, like I said, with sculpture, you want form, your silhouette, your anatomy. But even more important than that, you want your silhouette to be good. So form, gesture, expression. Then you get into your anatomy. That's kind of like the cream at the bottom. And then you're into all the rest of the little details, right? And you can get a lot of forgiveness in some areas, but definitely if you have a dull silhouette or there's no life in the sculpture, you're not gonna, your work's just not going to be where you want it to be. It's not going to show as well as you want it to, because it's not going to stand out on a table. And that part is very important. So taking your work, holding it up to a window and going, does this look good in just the silhouette? And then that gesture, is it saying something? Is it moving? Is it dynamic? Is it more than just a horse on a table? Because you can scan a horse all day. And I have scanned horses in my collection. And like this girl. They're broken. So you have the one that Hawk and Harrier were based off of by Maggie Bennett. This was a scanned real horse in 3 different poses with its head down and turned, head up, and then I can't remember what the other one was, but there's him. You can scan horses all day, but it's not art, right? That's a scanned horse. It was a warm blood. She's got a really cool expression in her face. If it'll focus. Focus. It's like, I see your face in there somewhere. But like, it's cool, but it's not art because it's a real horse. It's not, a human hasn't interpreted this and provided their interpretation of it. So while it's cool, you're looking for something that stands out with some sort of piece of you in it. That would be the fine balance with the model horse hobby, is you want it to be realistic, but you also want it to be art, and it has to have that spark inside of it. And I've seen this guy, or this girl, I guess, circulated with some people that have removed the bridle on it and are selling it as a model horse. Scanned horses aren't, it's not the same. And taking a scan and editing it isn't the same as sculpting it yourself. It's this fine balance. And I honestly think that the 3D scanned horses need to be disclosed that they are scanned horses and not a sculpted horse. But that is just my soapbox. I have arrived, Angel Choir. Yeah, pretty much. Art of V Bean. Welcome to the stream. So you want to flip mediums as well. I found that super helpful for me. So instead of just always sculpting in clay, if I'm struggling in particular with a specific part, or I want to get a little bit looser, then I go from sculpting in clay to switching it up and drawing and sketching and doing gestural stuff, because that gestural stuff will help me with the gesture and the emotion and the silhouette and the flow and the expression. Whereas if I wanted to do a study, I'll go in and do a sketch study of, say, like the knee or the hawk or the face, and do a whole bunch of those, do them without that perfectionistic quicksand. Every time, do it. It will make you realize how much you do it. And then that will kind of, it allows your brain to disengage and refocus. And we have the bad habit of having a brain that will tune things out that it doesn't think is necessary, because our brains take up a lot of energy and it's trying to save energy at all times. So it has to have something there that changes to disengage it and make it actually pay attention. So you're just looking for that. So it's, I'm going to sculpt, but I'm not going to use my fine detail tools. It's going to either be all my fingers, or I'm going to go in with like the big chunky tools, right? Or switch out the thing, something in there to make your brain do it differently and make it pay attention, because that's how you'll be able to refocus. And I do find that switch between sculpting and drawing and sculpting to be very beneficial, because it's just that right amount of popping the brain clutch to understand what's going on and to be able to refocus and see stuff. Along with that idea of going in, and I'm going to touch back on something because I forgot to mention this particular point. When you go in and not do the perfection thing, when you're focusing on practicing with purpose and not perfection and avoiding the quicksand, then you are able to improve faster. So something like the Medallion Club actually forced me to do that early on in my art career, as well as the Sticker Club does that because I'm doing more drawing than I'm normally used to. It's, in this case, the deadline prevents the perfection, and the requirement of I'm doing a club and I have to do a medallion every 2 months means that my artwork will naturally start to actually improve over time, because I'm having to do it and I'm having to finish it. And it's the finishing that is kind of the key, finishing it and moving on to the next thing. So I wanted to make sure that you had a practical idea of what that looks like. So something like that. So you could start a club, you could have a contest that you enter. Contests are really good for that sort of thing. And or show deadline will also do that for you. So that's a practical way to put that into play. Becoming a reference master, thinking creatively about where your references can come from. So this can be bucking horse. This can be, I can find references of horses in the wild that are sparring or fighting. You can find like eventing horses that are landing their jumps, and you can kind of get, so if you're struggling to find references, because references are so important to what you're doing, that looking for weird ways that a horse would move their body in that way that isn't 100% the pose you're looking for can be really helpful. There's positions where you can use reiners when you're sculpting a jumper. There are times when thinking out of the box and being like, okay, so I want to sculpt a show jumping horse or an eventing horse. And then you go and look for reference photos and you find race horses that are stretched out. And maybe that gives you a reference for a part you're looking for, or you're looking for the stretch, but you don't want the tack on. In what circumstances would that pose or that movement not have tack, or that part of the body have the tack removed? Because especially in horse sports, there's a lot of times where they have wrappings over their legs and they're wearing saddles and pads and a whole bunch of gear on their head. And it's near impossible to find that. So thinking creatively and outside of the box as to where else you can find those references. Is it free jumping? Is it a horse running around in the pasture doing something silly will maybe get you close? And remembering that breeds aren't 100% transferable, but it'll kind of give you a better idea. And a lot of times I find if I chase down different rabbit holes, I'll find my references eventually. It's just a matter of seeking them out, which I kind of find fun. But that is kind of a neat way to do that. And get around not having the perfect reference, because at a certain point you'll get enough experience that needing the reference isn't 100% required. It's nice to have those really good ones, but you don't need both. Like, I need exactly both photos of this horse from two sides at least. In the round would be best. You're going to struggle. So getting creative is the easiest way to figure yourself around that. And think about all the different horse sports that are available, all the different things that you can do. Arabians fly around those rings doing free, like, Liberty performances. Liberty performances are actually a really good opportunity to see different poses and things, because sometimes they'll be doing horse type movements from things that you might need. So that's kind of cool. And then looking for feedback, but not just generic feedback. You want feedback from people that are people that you respect, you like the work of, and that you know will be honest with you. And there's a lot of issues nowadays with people kind of blowing smoke up other people's bums. And that isn't super helpful, nor is unsolicited advice. And it's very dangerous to just post generic stuff online, especially when you're just starting out or really in the developmental phases of your style and your artistic ability, to just post something online and be like, hey, what do you guys see that's wrong with this? Because if you're not set up in your own brain to take that feedback and criticism, as nasty as it might get, or as fluffy as it might get, where you have to weed out that too, then that's not a good thing to ask for. Because and it's really hard as an artist to mentally prepare yourself for what you might hear coming out of other people's mouth about something that you spent a lot of time on, that you put your heart and soul into. And that's why going to a trusted source is your best bet, at least in the beginning, until you start to learn those skills. And I'm going to touch on that at another topic in the future, because I think that learning how to take negative criticism, take what you like, because you're not ever going to be able to absorb 100% of what everybody's saying or even agree with it at the time. There'll be times, maybe 5 years down the road, you're like, oh, maybe I should have done the thing that the person said way back then. And there's only so much you're able to adjust things as you go too. You can't incorporate, or we'd be robots and we'd be producing scans. So that's kind of an important thing to take, because just think about, if I post this online and somebody says, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen, you should just quit now and maybe unalive yourself, then, because that's what you're going to get from the internet sometimes. And maybe I'm going to get kicked off YouTube for saying that one word, but people are nasty, and we need to learn how to let that just go by without absorbing it. And a lot of times as artists, we're so sensitive that it's absorbed. But it's also a really good life skill to learn how to not absorb it. And it's a good reality check to check with yourself and say, can I take these nasty things that people are going to say? And then go to your trusted source. And eventually you'll get to the point where you can say, hey, what do you guys think of this thing? Or produce something for Briar, because you know the torches and the pitchforks will come out and people will be like, I don't like this, I don't like that, that's the ugliest thing ever, this is wrong, that is wrong, that's the wrong whatever. It is the ugliest Briar ever. I don't know why people like it. Because it's going to happen. And you're never going to be able to make those voices stop. And I think society's trying so hard to do that, and that it's impossible, because the more you try, the more your trolls are going to come out and they're going to be arseholes. So learning how to deal with it within your own being is the only thing you have control over. So again, topic for another day, but a good thing to think about for now, because the feedback portion can be very helpful, but it also can be very hurtful and very destructive. So tread with caution. Jody says, I used to pray that I would lose the fear, but now I know the fear keeps me striving to be better. The fear is real. It is very much real. Especially the fear that happens when you are so happy with a project and you're fearful to mess it up. Also true. Like sending your original out and then having it potentially just disappear into oblivion for 2 weeks. Actually, longer than how long it's been. So that's the 8th. 1, 2, it'll be 3 weeks this week. So yeah, totally a thing. And Jody's saying that's interesting. So maybe I should post a project that I keep putting off working on that might force me to work on it. Oh, maybe I should post a project that I keep putting off, which it might force you into working on. Some people do that too, where they'll say, hey, looking for a buyer. And if somebody buys it, then it's like, okay, well, now I have to finish it, right? So there are ways to trick your brain, and you have to learn how to trick your brain to be able to get stuff done and to be able to improve. Jody says, honest with you. Yeah, that's the problem. I want honesty, but I so rarely get it. And a lot of times it's hard because you don't know where people are in their journey or if they can take it. Because a lot of times we're so far from where we want to be, and we know that. And sometimes people, pardon me, they aren't looking for feedback. They're looking for more of a pat on the back, which is a totally different thing. So yeah, it can be very hard. You have to find somebody that you have good rapport with, that you respect, and tell them that you are wanting them to be honest with you and what your goals are. So say, let them know, I know that I'm struggling with the hawks and the expression in the eye, or I don't understand this mechanic of the neck, and go to the person that you know will understand that and be able to help you with that, because not everybody understands all the things. It's near impossible. There's so many things to understand. So that might hopefully give you a little bit of a grasp on, because it's communicating your requirements to the person that you're looking for feedback from. Hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm struggling with. So then you're telling them what you see that you want to improve on. And that also tells them what you don't see that in your work yet, because there's always going to be those things too. And they can work around with that. And you're probably not going to get somebody that's able to see or be honest about all of the things, but you want to pick the person that is going to be in the position where they can tell you those things. Random people on the internet, while that can be helpful, like I said, you have to be very mindful of some of the feedback you're going to get back is wrong, or in their opinion only, or their preference, or unhelpful, because that's totally a thing. I've gone to people and posted stuff online, and I was very excited for my first resin, in fact, and posted it, and somebody's like, oh, this is wrong and that's wrong. And it's like, how is that helpful? It's not, because at the time I wasn't asking for the critiques on it. I was posting, I'm finished my horse, I'm excited, it's my first piece. And sometimes that can be enough discouragement to send people somewhere else, because it's really hard to see that. And I try and point out in things, posts and stuff, the things that people are doing well. And if they're asking for critique, then we talk about the things that they're not doing as well as they would like to be, and how to get to where they want to be. And yeah, so that's my little spiel. Katie's saying, how does Model Horse Place work? Is that a fairly decent sales platform? It has its glitches. I think it's run by Honey Gibbons now. It's an auction. Oh, wait. That is the replace. Yeah, so Model Horse Place is the auction site. So it works auction style. You can also sell things, I think, for straight amounts. And then there was... What's the one that replaced? Help me in the chat. What's the one that replaced Model Horse sales pages? Model Horse Connection, I think. Which is also slightly glitchy and down sometimes too. So this one is... so if you're wanting auctions, a lot of people go to Model Horse Place, and then Model Horse Connection is kind of straight sales. You can go... Works the same as Model Horse. There's so many of these. Now my brain's just going to be like, I don't understand the words. Like Model Horse sales pages was, and then you can just pick what category you want and sell things for straight. I think they do offers and stuff on here. So if you wanted to look up, say, resin, and you wanted, that's OF resin. Artist resin painted. Let's go traditional. So there's this whole search area on the side here where you can hone in on what your specific thing is you're looking for, and then see, oh, look, someone's released a new fuzzy pony resin, or it's kind of a cool place to go. There's like all sorts of stuff. But yeah, that's another option as well. Model Horse Place is good. It's a little glitchy sometimes. Make sure you load your credits in before you place ads, because that becomes a big problem. So I'll sometimes go all the way to the end of an ad or auction, figure out how much it's going to be, go load credits, and then go from there. Momo, I love the fact that in your speech, I really see myself, and I'm not like, oh, I'm a crazy person. People in the community struggle with this too. And that's part of why I try and be out here and open, because I know for me, there was a lot of struggles along the way. And not all of that is glamorous to show, but I think that it's important, because that's how we know that we're not crazy and we're not the only one, which is kind of the whole point of the Model Horse community. We're not the only crazy people that love these things, and the big ones. But yeah, because it seems insane from the outside sometimes. And you get people like, I'll have somebody that comes into the house for the first time and they look around and they go, there's more than a few screws loose in this lady. Well, it's my job too, so there's that. But yeah. So hopefully that helps. All right, now on to, and if there's any topic you want me to kind of cover or address or things like that, leave them in the chat or email them to me. contact@chrysalisstudios.com is the email. Go to my website. You can send an email from there as well. And maybe I'll cover it in one of these streams, because it's nice to know what you guys think would be helpful as well, whether it's relating to art stuff or functioning as an artist and keeping yourself sane, like we talked about last week with the crazy world and how to keep yourself motivated through it, or dealing with stuff, how to make yourself better as an artist, what I've learned along the way. I tend to be a serial media swapper, so I tend to try different things, and I'm not very good at staying in my own one lane. So it can be very helpful that way to experience other stuff, but it gives me a lot of experience in random spots. Yeah, I actually saw another tip that someone had posted the other day about specifically sculpting mediums and painting mediums, and that if you're struggling with one and you want to just try them all, that's good to try them all and find the one that you kind of like the feel of best. But the way to really give it an honest shot is to stick with one and stick it out for a while and see if it actually works for you. That's why it's good to do the research at the beginning and see kind of, okay, how long does this take to dry or to set? Or what are the pitfalls of using epoxy over oil-based clay? Do I want to make waste molds or scan the horse? Or do I want to deal with it being hard to move the pieces after they're set, right? Like there's always the pros and the cons. There's never one ultimate medium to work in, sculpturally or painting wise. Will I have time for a new hangout session soon? I might be able to do Wednesday the 29th. It kind of got away from me. I was hoping to do this weekend, but I am just destroyed after 2 weeks of dealing with more than 3 weeks of dealing with non-stop shipping issues. So it's been crazy. And then it was very disheartening to do that whole program and then have them be like, oh, we're scrapping that. We don't need that. I was trying to prepare myself because, yeah, no. But now I know how to do it. So I can basically make the computer do whatever I want now. Yeah. More than a few screws loose, or we have more screws loose than a Hokey Depot during an earthquake. Hokey Depot? That's awesome. So yeah, that's been my topic for today. If you have suggestions for other topics, leave them in the chat or email me. Let me know what you want to see because I want to know what you guys want to see. And then my last topic for today is my hyperfixation, which was actually a refreshing adventure back into Penland because I have been not really feeling it with everything. You see, the world gets heavy and crazy and hard, and it's easy to lose sight of the little things that make you happy. And you guys have seen in the ends of my streams for the last year, 2 years, because I think I've been collecting for 1.5 years now, that the pens pop up every once in a while and the pretty inks and stuff. So they had what's called the Pelican Hub, and that is a fountain pen event for you don't have to collect Pelican pens, but Pelican is a brand of pen, fountain pen. I'll bring it up on here. And so fountain pens use ink, and a lot of times the ink is really fun. It is sparkly. These guys are a little bit more along the line of refined. So it'd be under fine writing because they do other stuff. They can get into some of the really fancy. It's really pretty. Go back to the other one. That one. No. Go. Why won't it let me see more? There we go. So this one has like rated inlays. You can get some really fancy stuff. So the pens themselves are really pretty. They write in really pretty inks. And it was nice to go to this event because they put it on every year. It might not happen going forward because the company was bought out by a different place. But you show up, you get to hang out with people that have the same likes as you, at least in one area. Not everybody agrees politically or otherwise, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to say that 5,000 times, and maybe one day people will understand that it doesn't matter any of that. But you agree on one thing. So they actually gave a little like gift bag this time. Normally you get ink. I have resin in my cuticles. You get a little free jar of ink, and it's Edelstein ink, which is their own brand. It came with like a little welcome box with like a little welcome sheet and then a bottle of ink. And that bottle of ink is adorable because their Edelstein inks are gorgeous. Even just the bottles are pretty. It doesn't have sparkle in it, but I'm going to add some because you can add fine mica powders to it. And I was like, this is a pretty, pretty peach color. And I'll see if I can pull it up on their website because they have a pen for it. It is Apricot Asha, or a chat is how it's spelt. Let me put it in here. I don't know what it means. It's supposed to be based on a stone. Here's a swatch of it. Stop the screen sharing. Share more screens. It's kind of this peachy color, which is really pretty. But if you added gold or even silver or blue or purple shimmer to it, it would just be wonderful. But it's kind of cool to see the bubble floating around in there. So yeah, it was fun to hang out. I did win a pen. I won a pen last year as well, which is kind of fun. So I got the Opus 88, which holds the largest amount of ink physically possible in any sort of pen, and it's a demonstrator, so you can see the shimmer and the bubbles inside of it. And then when you shake it up, which you're not supposed to shake, you're supposed to gently agitate, but who has time for gentle agitation? I'm always gently agitated. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always gently agitated. So it needs a little bit extra. So yeah, this is a really nice pen. It writes really well. Takes a lot to screw it out, but these are the fountain pens. So they open up in the tip. Seems old-timey, but they're actually wonderful for artists because not only can you get inks and all sorts of pretty shimmery colors, but you can also get pretty shimmery pens. So I had been stepping away for a while, and it was just kind of a nice reminder that people can get together, not agree on stuff in other areas of life necessarily, and just enjoy the thing that they like. So people were like, try my pen. And they had their thousands of dollars worth of pens just sitting out. And some of these pens are literally worth thousands each. And they were like, yeah, try it, take it. If you break the nib on it, that alone is hundreds of dollars to fix. So that's a lot of faith in other humans. So it was nice to see that. It was nice to have just to see all the sparkly ink and remember why I even like the fountain pen stuff, because it's nice to be able to go around and like write with different shimmer inks and play with different pens and see kind of what you like, because the world is so gloomy and sometimes that just the simple things are really nice to get back in touch with, and it makes a huge difference. Let's see if I can find pictures of the thing that I'm looking for. So like this. Why is everything on Reddit? Like, look. Just a simple video of the shimmer and the color. And you can write your daily to-do list in this. It makes life so much better, which I haven't been. I swapped back to just a normal pen for a while there because it was easier and my pens needed to be washed. But like this, to make your to-do list in sparkles and pretty colors and shifty colors, it makes life a little bit better. And that's important. So yeah, it's also really pretty and distracting. And a whole nother hobby rabbit hole of crazy, right? So yeah, it was nice to get in touch with that. It was lovely of Pelican to be able to sponsor the event, and Kensington Art Supply in Calgary to host it and do the giveaways. I did win the most obnoxious pen. Where'd it go? It is a Pilot Parallel, which I've always wanted to try because it's a calligraphy pen. But look how wide that nib is. So it writes, and they gave us a little notebook so that we could write all the stuff. That is what it writes. It is huge, giant. That's normal writing. Normal writing. That's fancy big writing. And then that's the Pilot Parallel where it's like, this is huge. But you can see I tried out a whole bunch of different pens, wrote down notes. Some of them shimmer. Everybody's pens have different ink in them. So you can kind of see how they write with different nib sizes, see how the pen feels. It was just, it kind of reawakened the, oh, okay, this I need to get back into paying attention to my pens again because it makes the days better. So that was my hyperfixation, other than the stupid program that I don't even need anymore and shipping craziness. But yeah, I quite enjoy it. It is really, really nice to be able to just get away. And that's what the model horses do too. And you can get away to the shows and the events and just hang out with people and enjoy the thing. And you don't have to get into the politics and the drama and the crazy, because it just wrecks it. It does. It wrecks it. And it's nice to go into a place where people don't know who I am and I can show up and I'm me. So the ambivert in me goes from being basement troll most of the time to having the moments of like, ba-ba-da-ba, hi, how's it going? Oh, that's a beautiful sparkly ink. That's a gorgeous pen. I can do the thing and be me and have nobody judging me or my business for it. Or they're like, who is that? Because I'm just me. It is a thing. And I don't have to worry about there being drama or if this particular person is here, or, it's just sometimes tapping into other stuff to refresh what the place you live in is supposed to be is refreshing and wonderful. Yeah. So that's my soapbox. Here's another picture of writing that's really pretty because I'm going to show pretty things. The downside to some of this stuff, like look at it. There's shimmer in there and you can see the color underneath the shimmer, and the shimmer means it sparkles, basically like Pearl-Ex. It's lovely. Lovely. I love it. I love it. And I know I've inspired a couple of you guys to look into it too. The pens can be a little bit nuts for pricing, but it's nice you can start off with a good, like, tiny pen. Doesn't have to be crazy. A lot of the Chinese manufactured stuff that you can find on Amazon, like Jinhao, are really good brands and they write really well. And you don't have to spend all the crazy money. Or you can spend a little bit of crazy money and then you can get sparkly things that make you happy inside. So it's the yeah, so hopefully you guys find something like that around you, or the model horse hobby is that for you. I highly encourage having little side shoots because it's nice to let off steam in different areas, and different areas will have they'll match you in different ways and fulfill different parts of your soul. The expectation that one hobby should fill all of those slots is really a lot to ask from one hobby. So I definitely, and there's of course little micro pockets within the hobby that do different things. It's you could figure it out. It takes some doing, but you can find the little areas that work and do what feeds your soul, and stay away from the trolls that want to suck your soul and convert it into not so nice things, because that happens too. Good Lord, that's a blade, says Teresa. I know, the mighty sword. The pen is mightier than the sword, unless well, if it's like that, it's definitely mightier. Teresa's going to a toy fair on Saturday. See? Exactly. Do the thing. It's always good. It's good to cross-pollinate because it keeps everything happier, I think. Looks drinkable. So many of them do. It's like, so this is Van Diemen's out of New Zealand, and they made a feline series, and it's called Mad Half Hour. And they do really nice boxes. Not quite. Ferris Wheel Press probably has the market cornered on pretty boxes, but it is a beautiful purple ink with kind of teal shimmers and purple shimmers in it. It's just, it's like having little magic potions that you write with. That's how my brain thinks of it. And their bottles are cute. Not as cute as Ferris Wheel Press, but anyway. Maybe I'll do some side offshoots. Pardon me. Oh, what's that? I've been talking too long. My voice has expired. So I should probably end this soon. But anyways, it's a nice little offshoot, and you can paint with these, and there's people that take them and they interact with bleach really neat. So you can create art, and that's how I justified it. I'm like, I'm gonna make art out of ink. Not all of them are light fast though. And some of them will just disappear. I have notes on my monitor that I wrote in fountain pen ink because there's UV exposures in here. I don't have notes on my monitor anymore. They just disappeared. It's like invisible ink. Ta-da! So yeah, that's the thing. But anyway, this is my crazy streamy thing for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you missed things, you can go back and check out the mold of this guy. I need to go in and do some timestamps on some of the last couple videos so that you can go and I want to hear just her talking about the topic, or I want to see the hyperfixation rant because it's very interesting and she gets very animated. Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird to go and just be me in a place where nobody knows me. So it's weird. Especially with the hobby, it like messes with your brain when people are like, oh, it's Raven, and they all know me and they know my stream. And it's nice to be incognito. I need to wear like glasses to Briarfest next time. All right. Let's see if there is more comments before I take off. I didn't want to ignore comments. We're a community of crazy. Indeed, we are. Good crazy, though. Momo says, maybe a cool topic can be people trying to find a niche is maybe not always the best goal. Doing a bunch of things is really nice too. Drawing, sculpting, painting, tack making, sewing. From one person, it's also very impressive. Okay. I like it all. It's kind of fun. There are side adventures coming up here that hopefully I'll be able to share with you guys that will be really fun and maybe give you a different area of a hobby or otherwise to look into. So that'll be kind of cool. Jody says, my hubby walked in during one of your lives last year and heard you talking about pens. Long story short, the best gift he ever got me was a really nice pen with glittery gold ink. Oh, that's so awesome. And it's I enjoy it. Lots of other people enjoy it. And everybody I found in the pen world is crazy and obsessed with pens in the same way we're crazy and obsessed with model horses. And it's very cool to see that in others because, again, it's that I'm not crazy. Other people do this with other things too, or going to Comic-Con, or going to like your favorite author's event, or going out and doing the sports things you love, or the dog sports things you love, or whatever your hyperfixations happen to be. It's cool and refreshing. Or going to take a chocolate making workshop or a cooking. The world is our oyster and we focus on the pile of poop rather than the pearls. So on that note, let's see. I'm always very gently agitated, sometimes aggressively agitated. Exactly. I love it. I am currently gently agitated, working on being aggressively agitated, but then my sparkles just sparkle everywhere. So it's satisfying and it calms me down. All right. On that note, I love you all. I will see you very soon. If you didn't see the sticker peaks, it's Gambler's Choice this month. So it'll be 50-50. It's going to be a little bit late because I lost track of time with all the shipping stuff. I was trying to get ahead of it, but it's not ahead. It's not. So they'll be going out and hopefully faster than the other ones because the other ones should just be arriving by the beginning of next month. So yay, fun. Don't feed the trolls. Don't focus on the shit. Focus on the good stuff. And let the hobby be awesome and enjoy it and foster that. And don't feed the shit because the trolls and the shit, don't feed it because it gets worse and it amplifies. Whatever you focus on, you have the power. Do it, but not. Yeah. Anyway, love you guys. Happy Halloween, by the way, because that'll happen right before our next stream. So go enjoy doing the spooky things if you do the spooky things and dressing up. Send me pictures of your costumes. I can post it in the stream. It'll be kind of fun. And we will see you next time, next Sunday, probably 10:30, depending on how crazy it